14 psychological tricks to make that person obsess over you, miss you, and want to see you. The greatest secrets are always hidden in the most unlikely places. Roald Dahl. Have you ever wanted someone to be completely captivated by you, missing you when you're gone and craving every moment to see you again? Well, you're in the right place. Because today, on Stoic in Your Life, we're diving into 14 powerful psychological tricks to make that person not just miss you, but obsess over you. And don't worry, it's not about manipulation or desperation. This is a blend of timeless Stoic wisdom and cutting-edge psychology. Throughout this video, I'll walk you through the exact steps to subtly spark deep longing and attraction. By the end, you'll have the key strategies to make this person desire your presence in a way they never expected. So don't miss a single trick, as one of them could be the breakthrough you've been looking for. These techniques are backed by proven psychological principles and Stoic teachings, making them the ultimate tools to elevate your value and turn yourself into someone they can't stop thinking about. But before we dive in, if you find value in these videos, make sure to hit subscribe and click the bell to stay updated on the best ways to cultivate both your inner power and external influence. Ready to transform your relationships? Let's get started. 1. Prioritize face-to-face encounters. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. In the modern age, we've come to rely heavily on digital communication, and while it's convenient, it's easy to overlook the true power of face-to-face interaction. If you want someone to truly miss you and develop a deep emotional bond, you need to prioritize meeting in person over text messages and social media. Why? Because when we interact in real life, all of our senses are engaged in ways that simply can't be replicated through a screen. You can see their reactions, feel the energy of the conversation, and most importantly, you can leave a lasting impression. Stoic philosophy reminds us to focus on what we can control, and face-to-face encounters are exactly that. You have the power to create memorable experiences by being present, authentic, and fully engaged. A text message may remind someone of you for a brief moment, but an in-person interaction can linger in their mind long after you've parted ways. When you're physically present, you're not just a fleeting thought. They can see your expressions, hear the tone in your voice, and feel the warmth of your presence. As Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters." By being fully present in the moment, you give them the opportunity to miss the real you, not just your digital persona. This deeper connection is what creates longing and desire, far beyond the superficiality of social media interactions. Let's talk about the psychological aspect. Studies have shown that human beings are hardwired for connection, and face-to-face communication triggers the release of oxytocin, also known as the bonding hormone. This hormone fosters trust and emotional closeness, which simply doesn't happen in the same way over text or a phone call. So, by prioritizing face-to-face encounters, you're not just making a fleeting connection, you're creating a deeper emotional attachment that's hard to shake off. This leads to the kind of longing where someone isn't just missing the sound of your voice, they're missing you as a person, your energy, your warmth, and your presence. This is the type of bond that's impossible to replicate through a string of text messages or social media comments. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." When you meet someone in person, you have the chance to leave a more vivid and lasting impression, coloring their thoughts of you in a way that digital communication cannot. In modern life, where convenience often trumps authenticity, it's easy to fall into the trap of relying on technology to maintain relationships. But think about this. When was the last time you truly felt connected to someone after a long text conversation? Likely it wasn't the same as sitting across from them, making eye contact, and engaging in a real conversation. The subtle nuances of face-to-face communication, body language, tone of voice, and physical proximity, are essential in creating that deep emotional bond. These are things that can't be captured through a screen. By prioritizing in-person meetings, You stand out from the crowd, showing that you value meaningful interactions. This not only makes someone miss you when you're not around, but also elevates you in their mind as someone who brings real value into their life. As Seneca wisely said, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." A brief, quality encounter will always outweigh days of trivial messages. In our fast-paced digital world, patience and effort are rare commodities. People are used to instant gratification, whether it's from swiping through social media or receiving quick replies to texts. By making yourself a bit more elusive and prioritizing face-to-face meetings, you add value to your presence. You become the rare person who's not always available at the click of a button, making each meeting more valuable. The anticipation of seeing you in person builds up, creating an emotional pull that keeps you at the forefront of their mind. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about showing that real connections require real effort. Aristotle once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. By making in-person interactions a habit, you are cultivating a relationship based on quality, not quantity. The person you're hoping to connect with will come to see you as someone worth investing time and energy into because you offer something deeper than a text message or a social media post ever could. In a world where people are constantly bombarded with notifications and distractions, you become the person who rises above the noise, offering something real and substantial. There's also an element of exclusivity here. When you prioritize face-to-face encounters, you signal to the other person that you're selective about how you spend your time. You're not just available to anyone at any time. This scarcity increases your value in their eyes. As the law of supply and demand dictates, what is rare is often more valuable. By limiting your availability to meaningful in-person interactions, you make your presence something they'll look forward to, crave, and miss when it's gone. As you apply this to your modern life, remember that technology should enhance relationships, not replace them. Use digital communication to coordinate your in-person meetings, but always aim for face-to-face when it matters most. It's in these moments that true bonds are formed and long-term connections are solidified. In doing so, you embody the Stoic principle of focusing on what you can control: your presence, your actions, and your ability to create meaningful experiences. Prioritize real, face-to-face encounters if you want to leave a lasting impression. Digital communication can be convenient, but it will never replace the emotional depth that comes from being physically present. By valuing in-person interactions, you set yourself apart, making your presence something to be cherished and missed. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When you create high-quality moments with others in person, you give them something to think about long after you've left. Make those moments count. 2. Emotional independence. He who is happy with nothing possesses everything. Marcus Aurelius. Emotional independence is one of the most powerful tools you can cultivate when you want to make someone truly miss you and desire you more deeply. But what exactly is emotional independence? It's the ability to stand on your own emotionally without relying on someone else to validate your worth or happiness. In today's fast-paced world, we're constantly bombarded by the idea that relationships define us, that having someone in our life is the key to being happy. But the truth is, happiness starts from within. If you want to make someone obsess over you, it's not about being overly available or constantly seeking their approval. It's about building a strong foundation of self-worth, showing them that you are a complete and fulfilled person on your own. As Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." When you develop emotional independence, you show that you aren't desperate for their attention. You have your own life, your own passions, and your own goals. This makes you much more intriguing and desirable in their eyes. Think about it this way. Have you ever noticed how magnetic someone becomes when they're genuinely happy, confident, and content on their own? There's a certain kind of energy that emotionally independent people carry. a calmness that's both attractive and inspiring. When you rely less on others to meet your emotional needs, you also become less affected by their absence, and paradoxically, this makes people miss you more. When they realize that you don't need them to be happy, they start to crave your attention and seek to be part of your life. You become the person they want to be around because you radiate stability, confidence, and independence. Remember, people are drawn to those who don't seek constant validation from others because it signals strength and self-sufficiency, qualities that are universally admired. The question you need to ask yourself is this: are you living a life that makes you happy, or are you waiting for someone else to fill that role? To dive deeper into how emotional independence works, let's consider a real-life scenario. Picture a successful individual, someone like Steve Jobs. Jobs was known for his innovation and vision, but what really set him apart was his sense of purpose and passion for his work. He didn't rely on others to validate his ideas. Instead, he had a deep belief in himself and his goals. This self-assuredness made people want to be around him, to collaborate with him, and to follow his lead. The same principle applies to emotional independence in relationships. When you have a clear sense of purpose, when you're working on your passions, and when you're not seeking constant reassurance, you become someone that others want to be around. They'll miss your presence because it's not something they can easily replicate. In modern life, where so much of our identity can be tied to external validation, through social media, likes, and followers, emotional independence has become increasingly rare. Many of us measure our worth by how others respond to us, which often leads to neediness, insecurity, and anxiety. But when you stop chasing validation and instead find satisfaction in who you are, it changes everything. You no longer react to every little thing people do or don't do. You're not crushed if they don't text back immediately, and you don't fall apart if they cancel plans. Instead, you remain calm, confident, and secure in your own self-worth. This calmness and security are what create that magnetic effect, drawing people toward you because they sense that you have something different, something rare that isn't easily swayed by external circumstances. Ask yourself, how can you cultivate more emotional independence in your life? One of the best ways to develop emotional independence is by focusing on your personal growth. Find hobbies that excite you, dive into your work, invest in your friendships, and nurture your own interests. When your life is filled with things that genuinely bring you joy and fulfillment, you won't be as emotionally dependent on anyone else for happiness. This not only makes you more attractive, but it also puts you in control of your emotions. By building your own life, you create a sense of security and self-worth that no one can take away from you. And when someone sees that you're content without needing them to complete you, they'll want to be part of your life, not out of obligation, but out of genuine desire to be close to someone who knows their value. Moreover, emotional independence is also about boundaries. It's about knowing when to give and when to pull back. By setting clear boundaries, you teach others how to treat you. If you're constantly available, always seeking to please, or overly dependent on their responses, they'll take your presence for granted. But when you have the strength to say no, to prioritize your own needs, and to maintain a life that doesn't revolve around them, you become much more valuable. As Epictetus wisely noted, no man is free who is not master of himself. By mastering yourself and your emotions, you send the message that you're not someone who can be easily swayed or manipulated. Instead, you are a person who values themselves and knows what they bring to the table. Think about how much more rewarding a relationship can be when both people are emotionally independent. Instead of relying on each other to meet every need or to constantly validate each other, you support each other's growth, ambitions, and happiness. There's a sense of freedom in that kind of connection, where love is shared out of mutual respect and admiration, not out of need or dependency. Isn't that the kind of relationship you want to cultivate? The most powerful lesson you can take from emotional independence is that true strength comes from within. When you no longer rely on others to make you feel whole, you become the kind of person people want to be around. You attract rather than chase, and you elevate the quality of your relationships because they are built on mutual respect rather than neediness. So, start investing in yourself, set boundaries, and remember that emotional independence is the key to making someone not just miss you, but value and admire you even more. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." By finding your strength in emotional independence, you not only become more attractive to others but also cultivate a sense of inner peace that no one can take away from you. 3. Patience in love. Patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. Aristotle. Patience in love is one of the most underestimated yet powerful psychological tricks you can use when you want someone to obsess over you, miss you, and crave to see you again. In today's world, we are so used to instant gratification, whether it's a quick reply to a message, a fast food order at the touch of a button, or the ability to binge watch an entire series without waiting. It's no surprise that many of us carry this mindset into our relationships. We want things to happen fast. We want the spark to turn into a flame right away, and when it doesn't, we become restless or anxious. But here's the secret. The most meaningful, long-lasting connections are built with patience, and those who understand how to nurture this virtue are the ones who truly succeed in making someone deeply invested in them. As the ancient Stoics taught us, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Often it's our impatience that leads us to act irrationally or with too much urgency, ruining what could have been something great. Let's be honest. Love isn't always love at first sight, and true intimacy and connection take time to grow. Have you ever rushed into something, only to realize later that it wasn't what you thought it was? Patience in love allows you to avoid those pitfalls. It gives you the space to really get to know the other person, to understand their values, their dreams, and whether they're someone who genuinely aligns with who you are. When you rush, you miss the opportunity to see if the relationship is built on a solid foundation. As the old saying goes, good things come to those who wait. In love, this couldn't be truer. By practicing patience, you not only give the relationship time to develop naturally, but you also create a sense of mystery and anticipation that makes the other person long for more. After all, isn't that what we're aiming for? To make someone truly miss you when you're not around? But how do you practice patience in love, especially when emotions are high and excitement is bubbling over? It's about restraint. It's about knowing that you don't have to reply to every text immediately or see the person every single day. By giving yourself and the other person time and space, you're allowing the relationship to breathe and evolve at a healthy pace. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. Don't try to rush love or force a connection. Let it unfold naturally. If you respond to every emotion or impulse without thought, you might overwhelm the other person or come across as desperate. But if you hold back just a little, if you let them wonder where you are, what you're doing, and give them time to miss you, that's when the magic happens. Think about this. When was the last time you watched a movie and the suspense kept you on the edge of your seat? It's the not knowing, the waiting for what's next that builds excitement and anticipation. The same goes for relationships. If everything is laid out too quickly, there's no mystery left, no sense of wonder or excitement. When you practice patience, you allow the other person to slowly unravel your layers, which keeps them engaged and interested. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about allowing the connection to grow deeper over time, rather than burning out too quickly. Ask yourself, do you want something intense and short-lived, or something meaningful that lasts? In modern life, we're constantly connected. Social media, texting, and phone calls make it easy to stay in constant communication. But just because you can stay in touch 24/7 doesn't mean you should. Giving space in love doesn't mean you're pushing someone away. It means you're letting the relationship develop organically. When you don't rush to respond or when you take time to engage in your own activities without constantly being available, it actually makes the other person appreciate your presence more when you are together. Patience teaches you to prioritize quality over quantity. And by doing so, you naturally cultivate a dynamic where the other person starts to crave those moments with you because they're not always readily available. Think about the most satisfying relationships you've ever had. Weren't they the ones where both you and the other person respected each other's individuality, gave each other space, and allowed the connection to deepen over time? There's something incredibly attractive about someone who knows their worth and isn't constantly seeking validation or attention. When you show patience in love, you're sending a signal that you are confident, self-assured, and comfortable with letting things unfold as they should. This creates a dynamic where the other person feels both safe and intrigued by you, which makes them want to spend more time with you. But patience doesn't just mean waiting. It also means being intentional with your actions. Patience allows you to make decisions thoughtfully, not out of fear or anxiety, but out of genuine consideration for what's best for both you and the other person. It helps you slow down and reflect on the relationship, what's working, what isn't, and whether it's worth investing more time. When you allow yourself time to reflect, you gain a clearer sense of what you truly want, and this, in turn, makes you a better partner. As Lao Tzu said, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." The same applies to love. There's no need to rush. What's meant for you will come when the time is right. Consider this. Have you ever tried planting a seed and expecting it to bloom overnight? Of course not. Relationships are much like that seed. They require nurturing, patience, and time to grow into something beautiful. If you water it too much or expose it to too much sunlight, it can wither before it even has a chance to flourish. By practicing patience, you're allowing the relationship to grow at a steady pace, creating a foundation that's strong and capable of withstanding the inevitable challenges that come with love. This is the key to making someone miss you and desire you, because when they're given space, they'll start to realize how much they enjoy being around you, how much they value the moments you share, and how much they look forward to seeing you again. Patience in love is not about waiting passively, but about actively creating a space where the relationship can grow naturally and meaningfully. It's about understanding that the best things in life take time, and that rushing into something only diminishes its value. As you cultivate patience, you'll find that not only does the other person begin to miss you more, but the bond you're building is one based on respect, mutual admiration, and a deep connection that can only be achieved over time. So the next time you feel the urge to rush into love, take a deep breath, step back, and remember, love is like a fine wine. It gets better with time. Are you willing to wait for something truly great, or will you settle for something less just because it's available right now? 4. The connection bubble. When it comes to building a strong connection that makes someone obsess over you, miss you, and crave to see you, one of the most powerful psychological tricks is creating what I call the connection bubble. This is the moment when everything else in the world fades away, and the only thing that matters is the two of you, locked in deep, genuine interaction. When you're in this connection bubble, time seems to stand still, distractions melt away, and the other person feels like they are truly seen, heard, and understood on a level that few others have managed to achieve. This creates an irresistible bond, one that makes them long to experience it again, even when you're not around. As Marcus Aurelius once said, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. When you create this type of intimate bubble, you leave an emotional imprint in their mind that lingers long after the conversation is over. The connection bubble is about being fully present and deeply engaged with the other person in the moment. Have you ever found yourself in a conversation where the person across from you seemed to be more focused on their phone or distracted by their surroundings? How did that make you feel? Probably insignificant or ignored. Now, contrast that with someone who looks into your eyes, leans in when you speak, listens to every word as if it matters, and responds in a way that makes you feel heard. That's the connection bubble in action. It's a powerful tool that can make anyone feel important and valued, and it's something that is increasingly rare in our fast-paced, technology-driven world. With notifications, social media, and endless distractions, many people struggle to be truly present. But when you can master this skill, you set yourself apart, and the other person will begin to crave the unique way you make them feel. The question is, are you ready to be the person who offers that depth of connection? This modern world is filled with endless distractions. Our phones are constantly buzzing, notifications are vying for our attention, and it's all too easy to get lost in the noise. But here's the truth. Being fully present is one of the greatest gifts you can give someone. When you create the connection bubble, you're telling the other person, right now nothing else matters but you. That level of attention and focus makes them feel valued, appreciated, and unique. It's almost addictive because, let's face it, how often do we encounter someone who gives us their undivided attention? Most conversations today are shallow, people multitasking, glancing at their phones, or not fully listening. When you break that pattern, you're offering something rare and precious, and it creates a longing for more of that experience. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, said Marcus Aurelius, and in relationships, being fully present is one of the most powerful ways to show that you are the kind of person who values meaningful connections. Creating a connection bubble goes beyond just listening. It's about responding in a way that shows you are truly engaged. It's not enough to hear the words. You need to understand the emotions behind them. Ask thoughtful questions, show empathy, and share stories that deepen the conversation. This is where emotional intelligence comes into play. When you can read between the lines and pick up on the subtle cues that indicate how someone is feeling, you create a deeper bond. This not only makes the other person feel understood, but it also helps them open up more, creating a cycle of connection that keeps building. When people feel emotionally safe with you, they are more likely to miss you when you're gone because they'll associate you with a sense of comfort, understanding, and emotional support. Think about the last time you had a truly meaningful conversation with someone, one where you felt connected on a deeper level. How did that make you feel afterward? Did it leave you thinking about the person and the conversation long after it ended? That's the power of the connection bubble. It's not about surface-level small talk. It's about delving into topics that matter, understanding the other person's fears, dreams, and desires, and showing genuine interest. This kind of engagement leaves a lasting impression, making the other person think of you long after you've parted ways. In the age of superficial connections, creating this kind of depth is not only powerful, but unforgettable. So, how do you practically create this connection bubble in your relationships? First, eliminate distractions. Put your phone away, close the laptop, and focus entirely on the person in front of you. When you're present, you're sending a strong message that they matter. Secondly, engage deeply in the conversation. Don't just talk for the sake of talking. Ask meaningful questions, listen to their answers, and share your thoughts and experiences in a way that fosters understanding. Lastly, follow up. A connection bubble doesn't have to end when the conversation does. Following up with a thoughtful message or referring back to something they shared with you shows that you're invested in the relationship, and that leaves a lasting impression. Dwell on the beauty of life. Watch the stars and see yourself running with them, said Marcus Aurelius, reminding us to appreciate the beauty of meaningful moments and connections. One of the key benefits of creating the connection bubble is that it allows you to build trust and intimacy in a way that's both natural and unforced. It's not about playing games or using manipulation tactics. Instead, it's about showing the other person that you are someone who values real connections, and that's something people are naturally drawn to. In relationships, people often fear vulnerability, but when you can create a safe space where someone feels truly understood, they will naturally want to be around you more. It's human nature to seek out people who make us feel seen and valued, and by offering that, you build a powerful emotional connection. In modern life, many relationships falter because of a lack of deep connection. People are often too distracted or too busy to invest in creating real, meaningful bonds. But when you take the time to build the connection bubble, you're creating something that goes beyond the ordinary. You're offering a relationship that's based on trust, understanding, and emotional depth. So ask yourself, how can you bring this into your own life? Are you willing to eliminate distractions, engage fully, and make the people in your life feel truly valued? The connection bubble is a powerful tool that can make someone miss you and crave more of your presence. It's not about being available all the time or constantly communicating. It's about the quality of your interactions. When you can create deep, meaningful connections where the other person feels truly seen and heard, you leave an emotional imprint that makes them want more. As the Stoics remind us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Marcus Aurelius. When you realize the strength of creating meaningful, distraction-free moments with the people in your life, you'll understand why the connection bubble is one of the most effective ways to build long-lasting, fulfilling relationships. Thank you for joining us in today's video. Before we move on to the next part, I want to take a moment to express my gratitude. It's truly a pleasure to have you as part of our community. Please feel free to share your story or personal thoughts in the comments. And if you're not sure what to say, just comment, "I am a newbie," if you've just joined us. Or, "I am Stoic," if you've been with us for a while. Your engagement not only marks your presence, but motivates us to continue creating valuable content. All right, let's keep this journey going together, shall we? 5. The power of silence. They say that silence is golden, and when it comes to building a strong emotional connection, this couldn't be more true. Silence, when used wisely, can be one of the most powerful psychological tools to make someone think about you, miss you, and want to be around you. Often we feel the need to fill every gap in a conversation with words, fearing that silence might create awkwardness or distance. But what if I told you that, in the space of silence, lies a great opportunity for attraction and intrigue? As the famous saying goes, silence speaks louder than words. It allows emotions to settle and grow, gives space for reflection, and can make the other person crave your presence even more. When used correctly, silence is not emptiness. It's a tool that can strengthen the bond between you and the other person. Think about this in modern life. We're surrounded by noise, constant notifications, social media, and conversations that never seem to end. But amidst all that noise, silence stands out. It gives you a chance to pause, reflect, and be present in the moment. Silence creates mystery, and mystery is intriguing. When you don't always respond right away or when you allow a conversation to breathe, it sends a powerful message. You are confident, comfortable, and in control. You're not desperate to fill the space or prove yourself. This confidence communicated through silence can be incredibly attractive because it shows you are someone who doesn't rely on constant chatter to feel valued or validated. It reminds me of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Silence gives us the chance to listen and reflect, allowing the other person to feel heard without overwhelming them with too many words. Let's relate this to a real-life story. Think about the last time you were in a conversation with someone who didn't rush to speak, but instead allowed moments of silence to fill the air. Did you feel more curious about what they were thinking? Did you feel a sense of calm, knowing they weren't rushing to speak over you? Silence in conversations can act like the space between musical notes. It enhances the melody and creates anticipation. By giving the other person room to speak, you not only show respect for their thoughts but also create an emotional pull. They may find themselves thinking about what you didn't say as much as what you did say. Silence allows them to fill in the blanks, which can make them more invested in you. Another aspect of silence is how it builds suspense and desire. When you're always readily available or respond immediately to every message, the other person doesn't have time to miss you. But when you allow pauses, when you take your time to respond thoughtfully, it creates a sense of longing. They start to wonder what you're doing, why you're not responding right away, and they begin to value your presence even more. This doesn't mean playing mind games. It's about giving the other person the space to appreciate your company and communication. Just as Marcus Aurelius said, the more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. By being comfortable in silence, you show that you don't need to control every moment of the conversation. You give the other person a chance to miss you, which naturally strengthens the connection between you. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by someone who talks too much or seems to dominate every conversation? Chances are, you found yourself tuning out or feeling disconnected. That's the power of silence. It gives you balance. It allows both people to process their thoughts and emotions, making the conversation more meaningful. It also gives the impression that you are a person of depth, someone who doesn't feel the need to fill every gap with words. This creates an aura of mystery and sophistication, making others more drawn to you. When you know when to speak and when to remain silent, you create an environment where the other person feels more comfortable opening up to you, sharing more of themselves, and ultimately feeling more connected to you. In modern relationships, where communication is often instant and constant, mastering the power of silence can set you apart. It's easy to send a message the second you think of something, or to keep a conversation going out of fear that the other person might lose interest. But silence shows restraint, patience, and confidence. It communicates that you are not desperate for attention, but that you value the quality of your interactions over quantity. This level of maturity is highly attractive because it shows that you are secure in yourself and don't need to rely on words to feel important. Ask yourself this: how often do you rush to fill the silence? And how might your relationships change if you allowed more room for reflection and anticipation? The power of silence is about control. Control over your emotions, your words, and your need for constant validation. It's about giving the other person the chance to wonder, to reflect, and to value the moments you share together. As you practice silence, you'll find that it deepens your connections in ways that constant communication cannot. The lesson here is simple. Don't be afraid of silence. Use it as a tool to create space for deeper conversations, more meaningful interactions, and a sense of longing that can't be achieved through words alone. Silence, when used wisely, can speak volumes, leaving the other person craving more of your presence and wondering when they'll hear from you next. Are you ready to embrace the power of silence in your relationships? 6. Authenticity. Authenticity is one of the most powerful psychological tools you can use to make someone obsess over you, miss you, and want to see you. In a world filled with superficial connections and curated social media profiles, people crave realness. They want to connect with someone who is genuine, who doesn't put up a facade, and who shows up as their true self in every situation. Authenticity is magnetic because it's rare. When you are honest about who you are, what you believe, and how you feel, it sets you apart from the rest. As Oscar Wilde famously said, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." In a world where many people are trying to fit into molds or play roles they think others want to see, being truly yourself can be the most attractive thing you do. When you show up authentically, you're giving the other person a chance to connect with the real you. Have you ever noticed how much more comfortable and relaxed you feel around someone who doesn't try too hard to impress? That's because authenticity creates trust and comfort. People can sense when someone is being genuine, and it naturally makes them feel safer and more open. They'll want to be around you because you aren't putting on a show. This authenticity invites deeper connections, and over time, creates a sense of emotional intimacy that cannot be replicated through surface-level charm. As Brené Brown, a well-known researcher on vulnerability, said, "Authenticity is a collection of choices that we have to make every day. It's about the choice to show up and be real." When you make the conscious decision to be real with someone, you open the door for them to do the same. In modern life, where many people are trying to meet unrealistic expectations or project a perfect image, authenticity is refreshing. When you allow yourself to be vulnerable, to admit that you're not perfect, and to share your true thoughts and feelings, it can be a breath of fresh air to those around you. Think about the last time you had a deep, real conversation with someone who wasn't trying to impress or sugarcoat anything. Didn't that make you feel more connected to them? Didn't it make you want to spend more time with that person? That's the power of being real. It builds connections that last. But what does being authentic really mean? It means not trying to be what you think the other person wants you to be. It means expressing your opinions, even when they might not be popular. It means sharing your true feelings, even when it feels uncomfortable. It also means accepting yourself as you are, flaws and all, and showing others that you're confident in who you are. When you own your imperfections, you give others permission to do the same, and this can create a bond that goes beyond the superficial. When you're real, people are drawn to you because they feel like they can trust you, and trust is the foundation of any lasting relationship. Think about it. How many people in your life do you consider truly authentic? How many times have you met someone who isn't afraid to show their true self? Probably not many. That's why authenticity is so powerful. It's not about being perfect, but about being real. When someone gets to know the real you, they are more likely to miss you and want to spend time with you because they know what they're getting is genuine. As Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher, once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This advice applies here perfectly. Instead of worrying about how to present yourself or how to be liked, just be yourself, and the right people will be drawn to you. Authenticity also means showing consistency between your words and actions. When you say you'll do something, follow through. When you express a belief, live it out. People notice when there's a disconnect between what someone says and what they do, and that can erode trust. By being authentic, by aligning your words and actions, you create a sense of reliability and integrity that makes others respect and admire you more. And respect is a key ingredient in making someone not only miss you, but also value you deeply. Now you might be wondering, how can I be more authentic without coming across as too vulnerable or risking rejection? That's a fair question. Authenticity doesn't mean oversharing or being emotionally reckless. It means being real in a balanced way, sharing enough of yourself to be genuine, but still respecting your own boundaries. It's about being open and honest, but also understanding that not every situation requires full transparency. Ask yourself, what parts of yourself are you holding back, and why? What would happen if you allowed those parts to be seen by the people you care about? When you are truly yourself without the fear of rejection, you invite deeper connections, and people will naturally be drawn to your presence. Authenticity is the secret weapon to making someone obsess over you, miss you, and want to spend more time with you. By being your true self, flaws and all, you create a connection that goes beyond surface-level attraction. You show the other person that they can trust you, be comfortable around you, and feel a sense of emotional safety in your presence. The lesson here is simple. Stop trying to be what you think others want you to be, and start embracing who you truly are. As you practice authenticity, you'll find that the right people will naturally be drawn to you, and they'll miss you more when you're not around, because they know what they're getting is real. So, are you ready to show up as your authentic self and build deeper, more meaningful connections? 7. Avoid seduction techniques. When it comes to making someone genuinely obsess over you, miss you, and want to see you, the last thing you should do is rely on artificial seduction techniques. Trying to manipulate or trick someone into liking you might work for a moment, but it never builds anything real or lasting. True attraction and connection come from authenticity, not from using rehearsed lines or calculated moves. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Instead of trying to seduce someone with superficial tactics, focus on being the best version of yourself, because that's what truly captivates someone. People are far more drawn to honesty and confidence than to someone who seems to be playing a part or trying too hard. The problem with seduction techniques is that they are rooted in manipulation and deceit. They might make you feel like you're in control, but in reality, they create a false connection that will ultimately break down. Consider modern dating. You may come across advice telling you to play hard to get, to use certain negging tactics, or to follow a script to make the other person want you more. But in doing this, you're not building a real bond based on mutual respect or admiration. You're relying on tricks to get attention, and that attention is fleeting. The question you should ask yourself is, what kind of relationship are you trying to build? One based on mind games, or one based on a genuine connection? If the answer is the latter, then you have to let go of those outdated seduction techniques that only serve to create distance in the long run. Think about this. Have you ever had a relationship where, after a while, the charm wore off because you realized the other person wasn't who they pretended to be? That's what happens when someone uses seduction techniques. They can only hide their true self for so long. When the real person emerges, the connection fades because it wasn't built on anything real. Instead of using manipulative tactics, build attraction through your authentic qualities, your personality, values, and how you treat others. People are naturally drawn to those who show real confidence, not arrogance. Kindness, not manipulation. As Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "What you are shout so loudly in my ears that I cannot hear what you say." People notice when your actions speak louder than empty words or tricks, and they're far more likely to respect and want to be around someone who is genuine. In modern life, where authenticity is increasingly rare, standing out by being real is the best way to draw someone's attention. It's tempting to follow the advice that promises instant attraction, but the truth is, meaningful connections take time and honesty. If you're looking for a relationship where the other person thinks about you when you're not around, it's not going to come from clever text messages or scripted behaviors. It's going to come from being the kind of person they can trust and admire. When you offer real value, whether through your sense of humor, your kindness, your ability to listen, or your passion for life, that's what makes someone miss you and want to spend more time with you. As Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. How you respond to others, and how you present yourself authentically, is what creates a lasting impact." Moreover, avoiding seduction techniques means you allow the relationship to unfold naturally. You're not forcing it or trying to control the outcome. This level of maturity shows that you're comfortable in your own skin and don't need to rely on games to get someone's attention. When you show this level of confidence, people will be more drawn to you because they'll see that you're different from the rest. You're not trying to trick them into liking you. Instead, you're showing them who you truly are and letting them decide for themselves. That freedom is powerful, and it makes the other person feel more at ease, which in turn deepens the connection. Avoiding seduction techniques also means being patient. In our world of instant gratification, it's easy to want immediate results, but real connections take time. When you allow things to progress naturally, without resorting to tricks or manipulation, you build a relationship that is based on respect, trust, and genuine interest. The other person will miss you because they enjoy your company, not because you've manipulated them into wanting you. They'll want to see you because you bring something real into their life, something that's increasingly hard to find in a world full of false pretenses and shallow interactions. In conclusion, the key to making someone miss you, obsess over you, and want to see you is to avoid seduction techniques altogether. Instead of trying to manipulate your way into their life, focus on being authentic, honest, and confident. People are far more attracted to those who are real and trustworthy than to someone who seems to be playing a game. By showing who you truly are and allowing the relationship to progress naturally, you'll create a deeper connection that lasts. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Let your thoughts and actions be genuine, and you'll find that the right person will be drawn to you for all the right reasons. So, ask yourself, are you ready to let go of manipulative tactics and embrace authenticity to build a lasting connection? 8. Communicating freedom. One of the most powerful psychological tricks to make someone obsess over you, miss you, and want to see you more is through the subtle yet profound act of communicating freedom. In relationships, it's natural to want to be close to someone, to share experiences and to spend time together. But one of the biggest mistakes people make is holding on too tightly, thinking that constant interaction or availability is the key to a strong bond. In reality, freedom, both in action and in communication, can create a far deeper connection. As the philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." When you give someone the space to be themselves, to live their life without feeling smothered or controlled, it's surprising how much more they'll gravitate toward you. Think about it for a second. How many times have you felt pressured by someone to respond immediately to a message, to agree to plans, or to spend every waking hour with them? It can feel suffocating, right? That's because people value their independence, and when that independence is threatened, it can create a sense of discomfort and even resentment. Now, consider this from the other side. When you give someone the freedom to live their life and make their own choices, without unnecessary pressure, it creates a sense of respect and admiration. They will begin to associate you with a sense of ease, and that makes them want to spend more time with you, not because they feel obligated, but because they enjoy it. When you're able to communicate that you respect their freedom, it signals emotional maturity, and that's something that people find incredibly attractive. In modern life, where everything moves at a fast pace and communication is instant, it's easy to fall into the trap of constant availability. With texting, social media, and countless ways to stay in touch, the temptation to be in continuous contact can feel overwhelming. But here's where the concept of freedom in communication becomes crucial. You don't need to respond immediately to every message or be available every time they reach out. By allowing moments of space, you create an opportunity for them to miss you, to think about you, and to desire more of your attention. As paradoxical as it sounds, sometimes giving someone the freedom to breathe and have their own space draws them closer to you. Ask yourself, how many times have you longed to see someone more after having a bit of time apart? Here's a real-world example. Think about a friend or romantic partner who always supports you in pursuing your own hobbies, interests, and goals. They don't demand constant attention, nor do they feel threatened when you're busy doing your own thing. How does that make you feel? Most likely, it makes you appreciate their presence even more because they respect your freedom to be yourself. This feeling of mutual respect creates a stronger, more lasting connection. The key to this trick is subtle but profound. You're not abandoning them or disappearing from their life. You're simply showing that you trust the bond enough to allow it to breathe. This makes them more likely to reach out to you because they know that being with you doesn't come with strings attached, but with freedom and trust. When you communicate freedom in a relationship, you also build a sense of security. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel trusted and understood. If someone knows they can go out into the world, live their life, and still have your support, they'll value that connection far more than if they feel constantly tethered to you. The freedom you give allows them to explore, to grow, and to appreciate the time spent with you even more. As the great poet Khalil Gibran said, "Let there be spaces in your togetherness." This space doesn't create distance, instead it strengthens the bond, as it allows both of you to grow individually, while still cherishing the moments you spend together. The lesson here is clear. True connection doesn't come from holding on too tightly, but from letting go enough to give both people the room to breathe and flourish. Communicating freedom shows confidence. It tells the other person that you don't need constant validation, and that you respect them as an individual. This not only makes you more attractive, but it also deepens the emotional bond you share. The next time you find yourself wanting to reach out constantly, or control how often you see someone, remember that giving them space might be the most powerful thing you can do. They will miss you more when they realize that with you, they feel free, and that freedom is what makes them want to come back. So, are you ready to give the people in your life the freedom to come closer on their own terms? 9. Create space for desire. Creating space for desire is one of the most overlooked yet powerful psychological techniques when it comes to making someone think about you, miss you, and genuinely crave your presence. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that constant contact or being readily available at all times will strengthen a relationship. But in reality, over-availability can have the opposite effect. When someone knows they can reach out to you anytime, or when you're always around, it diminishes the opportunity for them to miss you. As the old saying goes, absence makes the heart grow fonder. By creating space, you give the other person time to reflect on your value and build up that desire to reconnect with you. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely put it, sometimes even to live is an act of courage. In relationships, sometimes letting go a little and giving space takes courage, but it pays off in the long run. When you create space for desire, you're showing that you're confident enough to allow the relationship to breathe. Constantly seeking attention or communication might feel like you're building a connection, but it can actually create a sense of pressure that pushes people away. By giving someone room to miss you, you allow anticipation to grow, which is a key element in keeping someone interested. Just like anything in life, people tend to value more what they don't always have immediate access to. Think about it. How often do you appreciate something more when it's no longer readily available? The same applies to relationships. When you create that space, it heightens the other person's awareness of your absence and makes them long for your presence even more. Ask yourself this: when was the last time you really missed someone who was always right there? This approach doesn't mean you disappear or play hard to get. It's about balancing connection with enough space to allow desire to naturally build. Think of it like a fire. If you smother it with too much wood too quickly, it will die out. But if you tend to it carefully, giving it air, it will burn brightly. The same goes for desire in a relationship. Too much too soon can overwhelm the other person, but giving them space to think about you, to wonder what you're up to, and to reflect on how much they enjoy being with you creates that deep emotional longing that's so essential to keeping a relationship vibrant. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Applying this to relationships means recognizing that you can't control the other person's feelings, but you can control how you interact with them, and that often involves creating intentional space for them to miss you. In today's world, where constant communication through texts, social media, and calls is the norm, creating space can feel counterintuitive. But think about the power of anticipation. When you're not always available, you become more of a mystery, and people are drawn to mystery. They begin to think about you when you're not around, wonder what you're doing, and look forward to the next time they'll see or hear from you. That sense of anticipation builds desire. Instead of being predictable and constantly in their life, you become a pleasant surprise, someone they look forward to interacting with. As the saying goes, familiarity breeds contempt, and creating space helps to prevent that over-familiarity that can lead to boredom in relationships. Now let's apply this concept to modern life. We live in an age where everything is fast-paced, and everyone wants things immediately. Relationships are no different. Many people expect instant responses, constant updates, and unbroken availability. But when you resist that urge and instead choose to create space, you're breaking a pattern that so many people fall into. You're telling the other person that while you value the connection, you don't need constant interaction to validate it. You're giving them time to process their own feelings, to miss you, and to appreciate the times you do spend together. And here's the truth. When people feel they have to work a little for your attention, it becomes that much more valuable. Wouldn't you agree that something you work for always feels more rewarding than something that's just handed to you? Creating space for desire also demonstrates emotional maturity. It shows that you're confident in who you are and don't need to cling to the relationship to feel secure. People are naturally drawn to those who exhibit independence and self-assuredness. When someone sees that you have your own life, interests, and activities outside of the relationship, it makes them more intrigued by you. They see that you're not dependent on them for your happiness, and that makes you all the more attractive. Remember the famous words of Ralph Waldo Emerson, "Nothing can bring you peace but yourself." By embracing your independence and allowing the relationship to develop at its own pace, you create a space where desire can grow naturally. Don't be afraid to create space for desire. It's a powerful tool that allows the other person to miss you, to reflect on what you bring to their life, and to look forward to being with you again. When you balance connection with a healthy amount of space, you keep the relationship dynamic and engaging. So, the next time you feel the urge to be constantly available, take a step back and ask yourself, what could happen if I give this relationship a little breathing room? You might just find that the space you create is the key to making the other person think about you, miss you, and genuinely want to be around you more. If you've made it this far, you're truly dedicated to mastering the art of connection. Drop a comment saying, "I am in control," to show you're ready to apply these psychological tricks and transform your relationships. Stick around, there's even more to discover. 10. Don't get attached. Attachment can be a tricky thing, especially when you're trying to make someone obsess over you, miss you, and want to be with you. While it's natural to develop feelings and want to be close to someone, getting too attached too quickly can often push them away. The key is learning how to balance your emotions and maintain your independence, which in turn keeps the other person intrigued and wanting more. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." When you cling too tightly to someone or become overly dependent on their presence, you risk losing your sense of freedom, and that's when the connection begins to weaken. The paradox is that when you stop trying to control or hold on too tightly, you actually create space for a deeper bond to form. Let's break this down in a way that's easy to understand. When you become overly attached to someone, you place a lot of pressure on the relationship. Whether you realize it or not, this pressure can create tension and even cause the other person to feel suffocated. Have you ever experienced a situation where someone wanted to be with you all the time, constantly called or texted, and expected you to respond right away? How did that make you feel? More often than not, it leads to feelings of being overwhelmed or wanting to distance yourself. This is exactly why attachment can be so damaging. It makes the other person feel as though they are losing their own sense of freedom. By practicing non-attachment, you allow both of you to breathe and to come together naturally, without force or pressure. In modern life, attachment is often mistaken for love or care. We're conditioned to believe that if we're not constantly thinking about someone or trying to be with them, we don't care enough. But the truth is, true connection is built on mutual respect and a sense of freedom. By not getting overly attached, you're communicating to the other person that you respect their space and their individuality. You're showing that you don't need to cling to the relationship for your happiness, and this kind of emotional maturity is incredibly attractive. It makes the other person want to be around you because they don't feel burdened by your expectations. Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly when he said, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." It's about appreciating the connection for what it is, without becoming overly dependent on it. But how exactly do you practice non-attachment? It starts with focusing on yourself, your interests, your goals, and your personal growth. When you have a life that's fulfilling and rich on your own, you don't feel the need to hold on too tightly to someone else. This doesn't mean you don't care about the person. It simply means you're not making them the center of your world. Instead, they become a valued part of it, but not the entire thing. This shift in perspective is what allows you to remain confident and composed in the relationship, rather than anxious or needy. Ask yourself, what are the things in your life that bring you joy and fulfillment outside of this person? When you can answer that question, you'll find that you naturally become less attached, and the relationship benefits as a result. Attachment is often driven by fear. The fear of losing someone, the fear of being alone, or the fear that you're not enough. But when you let go of this fear and trust that the relationship will unfold as it's meant to, You create a sense of peace and security within yourself. People are drawn to that kind of energy. They are more likely to miss you and want to be with you when they feel that your happiness doesn't rely entirely on their presence. As the Buddha once said, you only lose what you cling to. By not clinging to the relationship or the person, you allow them the freedom to miss you, to desire you, and to want to come closer. Consider a real-life example. Have you ever noticed how attractive someone seems when they're fully immersed in their own life, doing the things they love and not constantly seeking validation from others? That's the power of non-attachment in action. When you're happy and content with yourself, it radiates outward, and people naturally want to be around you. You become someone they want to spend time with because you're not putting pressure on them to fill a void or meet your emotional needs. Instead, you're offering something much more valuable, a sense of ease and freedom in the relationship. At the end of the day, non-attachment is about trusting the process. It's about understanding that trying to control or force a relationship will only lead to disappointment. The more you let go of the need to be constantly connected or reassured, the more room you create for the relationship to grow organically. It's a delicate balance between caring and holding space for the other person, while also maintaining your own independence and emotional well-being. So next time you find yourself feeling overly attached or anxious in a relationship, take a step back and ask yourself, am I giving this person the space to miss me, to want to be around me, and to appreciate the time we spend together? 11. Leave toxic relationships. Another most important psychological tricks to make someone miss you, obsess over you, and truly value you is to recognize the power of leaving toxic relationships behind. Often, we stay in unhealthy situations far too long hoping things will change. But the truth is that toxic relationships rarely improve. The more you cling to a relationship that drains your energy and undermines your self-worth, the more you lose your sense of identity and self-respect. Walking away from toxicity is a powerful statement, not only to the other person, but also to yourself. It shows that you value your peace, your emotional well-being, and your self-worth above anything else. As the philosopher Seneca wisely said, sometimes even to live is an act of courage, and sometimes leaving a toxic situation requires the greatest courage of all. Leaving a toxic relationship doesn't just mean removing yourself from a situation where someone is mistreating you. It also means setting boundaries and standing firm in your belief that you deserve better. Have you ever been in a relationship where no matter what you did, the other person never seemed satisfied? Or perhaps they belittled your efforts, manipulated your emotions, or made you feel like you were always walking on eggshells? Toxic people thrive on control and draining the energy of others. When you finally decide to walk away, you take back your power. You send a clear message that you are no longer willing to tolerate being treated as less than you deserve. In modern life, where relationships are sometimes influenced by social media, societal pressures, or even fear of loneliness, it can be hard to step away from a toxic relationship. We often convince ourselves that staying is easier than facing the unknown or being alone. But staying in a relationship that drains you doesn't just affect your happiness. It can affect your mental health, your ability to trust others, and your future relationships. When you leave a toxic relationship, you make room for healthier, more fulfilling connections. You give yourself the opportunity to heal and grow, and that is when you become truly irresistible to others. Ask yourself this: how can someone miss you or appreciate you if they're constantly pulling you down? Walking away from toxicity is the first step toward allowing someone to genuinely value your presence. I once heard a story about a successful entrepreneur who stayed in a toxic partnership for years. His business partner was manipulative, always taking credit for his hard work and undermining his confidence. Despite the red flags, he stayed, thinking things would eventually get better. But one day, after a particularly demeaning argument, he realized that staying was only destroying his peace of mind. He chose to walk away. Initially, it was difficult, and there was fear about what would come next. But soon after, he found a new business venture, one that aligned with his values and respected his talents. His decision to leave toxicity behind became the turning point in his life, leading to not only financial success, but also personal happiness. This story applies to relationships too. Leaving toxic people creates space for better connections, ones where you are valued and respected. When you leave a toxic relationship, you also show others, and yourself, that you are someone who values your own worth. People are drawn to those who have strong boundaries and self-respect. If you allow toxic behavior to continue unchecked, not only does it chip away at your self-esteem, but it also tells the other person that their behavior is acceptable. Walking away might feel like the hardest thing to do, but it's the most liberating. And when you're free from that toxic influence, you can focus on building healthier, more meaningful relationships. You become someone who others miss, not because you were constantly available or pleasing, but because you demonstrated strength, resilience, and the courage to walk away when necessary. As the saying goes, the only way to win with a toxic person is not to play. Leaving toxic relationships is about reclaiming your life and making space for relationships that truly matter. It's not about giving up. It's about choosing yourself. It's about realizing that no matter how much effort you put into changing someone or making a relationship work, you can't change someone else's toxic behavior. Why you can only control your own actions, and walking away from what's harming you is the most powerful step you can take. So ask yourself, are you staying in a toxic relationship out of fear? Or are you ready to prioritize your well-being and create space for healthy, fulfilling connections? The lesson is clear. Leaving a toxic relationship isn't just about cutting ties with someone who doesn't treat you well. It's about valuing yourself enough to demand respect and peace in your life. It's about showing that you deserve better and creating room for the right people to come into your life. People who will appreciate you, miss you, and treat you the way you deserve. So, if you find yourself in a toxic relationship, remember that the greatest act of self-love is sometimes walking away. When you do, you'll find that the freedom and respect you gain far outweigh the fear of leaving behind what wasn't meant for you. 12. Inspire with positivity. Inspiring others with positivity is one of the most effective ways to make someone obsess over you, miss you, and constantly want to be around you. People are naturally drawn to those who lift them up, who bring light into their lives, and who make the world feel a little better just by being in it. When you radiate positivity, you create an emotional environment where people feel good, and that feeling becomes addictive. In a world filled with negativity, criticism, and challenges, being a source of encouragement and optimism sets you apart and leaves a lasting impression on the people around you. As the philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. By inspiring others with positive energy, you become the person they seek out when they need support, joy, or just a reminder that life has good moments. The power of positivity isn't just about pretending everything is perfect. It's about having the mindset to see the best in situations and people, even when things are tough. Positivity doesn't mean avoiding problems. It means facing challenges with a resilient attitude and bringing a sense of hope to those around you. Have you ever noticed how some people make you feel energized after spending time with them? That's the effect of someone who inspires positivity. They don't dwell on complaints or bring others down with negativity. Instead, they lift the conversation, offer encouragement, and focus on solutions. Think about it. When you're having a tough day, who do you want to talk to? The person who constantly complains, or the one who helps you see the bright side? That's why positivity is such a powerful tool in making someone miss you and want to be around you more. Let's take a modern example. You might know someone at work or in your social circle who, no matter what's going on, maintains a positive outlook. Even when things get difficult, they don't let negativity take over their mindset. They acknowledge the challenges, but they also keep pushing forward, offering a word of encouragement or a simple smile. Over time, that positivity becomes contagious. People want to be around them because they feel better in their presence. This is the key to inspiring others. You don't just make them feel good in the moment. You create lasting memories of warmth and support. That's what keeps them thinking about you when you're not there. And that's what makes them miss you. Ask yourself, what can you do to bring more positivity into the lives of those around you? It's not about being overly cheerful or fake. It's about being genuine in your support and optimism. When you're interacting with someone, try offering a word of encouragement or showing genuine interest in their challenges. You'll be surprised how much of an impact you can make by simply listening and offering a positive perspective. People crave that kind of energy, especially in today's fast-paced, often stressful world. As Ralph Waldo Emerson famously said, "For every minute you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness." By focusing on the positive aspects of life, you're not only improving your own well-being but also enhancing the lives of those around you. The trick to inspiring with positivity is balance. You don't need to be constantly upbeat or overly enthusiastic, but you do need to offer a perspective that leaves others feeling better after they've spent time with you. It's about being emotionally aware and knowing when someone needs a boost. Sometimes it's as simple as acknowledging someone's efforts or reminding them of their strengths when they doubt themselves. The effect of that kind of encouragement can't be overstated. When people know they can count on you to see the good in them and to highlight their potential, they'll miss your presence because it's rare to find that level of support in everyday interactions. The lesson is clear. When you inspire others with positivity, you create an emotional connection that people will long for. They will miss you because you become a source of joy, optimism, and hope in their lives. You become the person who brings out the best in them and helps them see the best in themselves. So, the next time you're interacting with someone, think about how you can leave them feeling better than before. How can you inspire them to see things from a more positive perspective? How can you encourage them to keep going, even when things get tough? When you master the ability to inspire with positivity, you'll find that people naturally gravitate toward you, miss you when you're not there, and treasure the time they get to spend with you. 13. Don't rush into love. Rushing into love is one of the most common mistakes people make when they're eager to feel that deep connection with someone. It's tempting to dive headfirst into a relationship, especially when the excitement and chemistry are undeniable. But as the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, "Nothing is as honorable as a grateful heart." In relationships, patience is a virtue that's often overlooked, but is crucial in building something real and lasting. When you take your time, you allow both yourself and the other person to grow into the relationship at a natural pace, without forcing emotions or outcomes. By not rushing, you create space for desire, trust, and genuine connection to develop, which makes the bond much stronger and more fulfilling. Let's break it down. When you rush into love, you may overlook red flags, idealize the other person, or become too emotionally invested before truly getting to know them. This often leads to disappointment when reality sets in, and you realize that the foundation wasn't as strong as you thought. Taking your time in love allows you to see the other person for who they really are, not just who you want them to be. It also gives you the chance to assess whether your values, goals, and life paths align. Relationships built on rushed emotions tend to crumble because they lack the solid foundation needed to weather challenges. As the saying goes, Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither is true love. The process of getting to know someone deeply takes time, and that's where the real beauty of a relationship lies. In modern life, where dating apps and social media can make it feel like relationships should happen instantly, it's more important than ever to slow down. You might feel pressure to label the relationship quickly or move through milestones because it seems like everyone else is doing it. But just because the world moves fast doesn't mean your love life should. True love isn't about how quickly you can get from the first date to a committed relationship. It's about the quality of the connection you build along the way. So instead of rushing to the finish line, enjoy each moment of getting to know the person. Ask yourself, what's the hurry? By taking your time, You're not only giving the relationship room to breathe, but you're also allowing yourself to make more thoughtful decisions about whether this person is truly the right fit for your life. A modern example of this can be found in how some relationships are influenced by social expectations. Have you ever felt like you needed to define a relationship or escalate things quickly because others were asking about your status? Or perhaps you've seen friends jump into a relationship only for it to fizzle out just as fast because they didn't take the time to really understand each other. When you rush, you might end up with a temporary connection that feels good in the moment, but doesn't stand the test of time. But when you're patient and let things unfold naturally, you create something more meaningful and long-lasting. In the words of the philosopher Epictetus, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Similarly, love thrives not in rushed emotions, but in patience and understanding. When you don't rush into love, you also protect your emotional well-being. Too often, rushing leads to over-attachment, making it harder to see the relationship clearly. By pacing yourself, you maintain emotional balance and clarity. This way, you're able to evaluate the relationship without letting intense emotions cloud your judgment. A slow and steady approach to love gives both of you the opportunity to establish mutual respect, trust, and friendship, which are essential components of any successful relationship. Think of it like building a house. You need to lay down a strong foundation before putting up the walls. Love is no different. Without a solid foundation, the relationship will struggle to stand when challenges inevitably arise. Don't rush into love. Take your time to truly get to know the person, to build a foundation of trust and respect, and to ensure that your relationship has what it takes to last. Love isn't a race, it's a journey, and the slower you go, the more beautiful and fulfilling the experience becomes. So the next time you feel the urge to speed things up, ask yourself, is this about what's best for the relationship, or is it about impatience? Remember, real love is worth the wait, and by not rushing, you give yourself the best chance at creating something truly special. 14. Friendship and mutual support. Friendship and mutual support are at the core of any strong relationship, and they're often the secret behind making someone genuinely miss you, value you, and want to be around you more. Many people focus solely on romantic gestures, passion, or attraction, but the truth is that long-lasting connections are built on a foundation of genuine friendship. As Aristotle said, friendship is a single soul dwelling in two bodies. When you and another person develop a friendship that's based on mutual support, trust, and shared experiences, you create a bond that goes beyond physical attraction. It's that deeper emotional connection that truly makes someone obsessed with your presence because they know that with you, they'll always find a space of understanding, respect, and care. Friendship in a relationship means being there for each other, not just during the good times, but especially when things get tough. Have you ever noticed how the strongest couples are those who see each other as best friends first? It's because they have a solid foundation that isn't just built on the highs of romance, but also on shared values, inside jokes, and a genuine desire to support one another through challenges. That's the kind of bond that makes someone not only want to be with you, but miss you deeply when you're apart. When you foster a friendship within your relationship, you're giving the other person more than just a romantic connection. You're giving them a confidant, a cheerleader, and a safe space where they can be themselves. In today's fast-paced world, where relationships often focus on the superficial, developing a deep friendship can seem like an overlooked art. People rush into relationships or prioritize the flashy moments, but what happens when the excitement fades? That's when friendship and mutual support become the glue that holds everything together. Think about it. When the initial excitement of a new relationship wears off, what keeps it going? It's the sense of comfort, the shared laughter, and the mutual respect that comes from true friendship. As the famous saying goes, a friend is someone who knows all about you and still loves you. This is the kind of bond that keeps a relationship strong, and it's what makes someone feel your absence more acutely. Consider this in the context of modern relationships. We all know those couples who seem to have it all together, right? The ones who not only share romantic moments, but are also each other's best friends. They support one another's dreams, help each other through difficult times, and laugh together even in the face of adversity. That's the magic of mutual support. It makes the relationship not just about love, but about partnership. When you offer this level of friendship and support, you're not just being a romantic partner, you're becoming someone the other person deeply values and wants to be around. And when you're not there, they'll miss that sense of companionship and encouragement. Ask yourself, how can you cultivate this kind of friendship in your relationships? It's not just about always agreeing or doing everything together. It's about showing up for the other person in meaningful ways, listening when they need to vent, encouraging them when they're chasing a goal, and being a source of positivity in their life. Mutual support means giving as much as you take, being willing to help them grow while also being open to receiving their support in return. This creates a healthy balance, where both people feel valued and respected. It's this kind of dynamic that makes someone appreciate you more, and when you're apart, makes them miss your presence deeply. At the heart of every meaningful relationship is the principle that friendship and mutual support make everything stronger. When you build your relationship on this foundation, the emotional connection deepens, making the other person think about you even when you're not around. So, if you want someone to miss you, don't just focus on romantic gestures. Be their friend, be their support, and be the person they can rely on. After all, it's the quiet moments of understanding, the inside jokes, and the unwavering support that truly make a relationship last. As Seneca said, one of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. When you live by this, you create a relationship that's not only fulfilling in the present, but one that stands the test of time and makes your absence truly felt when you're not there. Thank you so much for watching until the end of this video on 14 psychological tricks to make that person obsess over you, miss you, and want to see you. I hope these insights were valuable and helped you better understand how to create deeper connections. If you found this content helpful, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, Stoic in Your Life. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below and let us know what stood out to you most. Your support means everything, and we can't wait to see you in the next adventure.